I've been sitting on this for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of pretending everything is fine while Christine smiles at me across the dinner table like I'm still the idiot she thinks I am. Quick background. I'm Raymond, 34M. I own a small construction company my dad started 30 years ago. Met Christine at her cousin Alan's wedding 4 years back. Her family is old money that ran out 2 generations ago, but they still act superior. Her mom Carol made that clear from day one with comments about my truck, my accent, dirt under my nails. Christine seemed different, or so I thought. We married after 18 months. I had a prenup because my lawyer insisted. The company, the house I inherited, retirement accounts, all protected for 5 years. After that, community property kicks in. Christine signed without a fight. Should have been my first clue. 2 weeks ago, I was supposed to be in Ohio, but the meeting got canceled Thursday. I drove home Friday around 9 p.m., saw lights in the kitchen and heard voices. Christine had her mom and sister Bianca on speaker while pouring wine. I stood in the mudroom with my keys still in hand. Okay, so we're starting with the classic cheating discovery setup, but this feels different. This man is calm. 2 weeks of sitting across from this woman eating dinner, that's not heartbreak. That's reconnaissance. And listen, when someone's family has been looking down on you since day one, the truck, the accent, the dirt under your nails, that's not just snobbery. That's them telling you exactly who they are. They see labor as beneath them. They see you as beneath them. And Christine seemed different. Nah, Christine was just better at hiding it. The prenup signing without a fight is such a red flag in hindsight because someone who actually loves you would at least ask questions. Would want to understand? She just signed because she already knew her exit strategy didn't involve the first 5 years anyway. Carol laughed about how I worship the ground she walks on. How I have no clue she's been playing me since our wedding night. Bianca asked about timeline and Christine said 6 more months. The second the prenup window closes, she's filing and taking everything. Bianca brought up my family's lake property that my grandfather built in 1962. Asked if it could get transferred to Carol's name before lawyers get involved. Christine laughed and said she's been working on it for months, telling me we should put assets in different names for estate planning. That I'm so trusting I'd sign anything. Then Carol said something that made everything click. This is what Christine was always meant to do. Marry well. Extract what she can. Bring it back to the family. I'm their retirement plan. This is genuinely one of the most sociopathic things I've ever heard. Since our wedding night. Since the wedding night. This woman walked down the aisle in white, said vows, looked this man in the eyes, and was already running the clock. And the grandfather's lake house built in 1962. That's not an asset. That's a legacy. That's summers with family. That's memories. That's something someone's hands actually built. And they're sitting around with wine glasses figuring out how to steal it like it's a monopoly property. But here's what kills me. This is what she was always meant to do. This isn't even going rogue. This is a family business. She was raised for this, trained, deployed. That's not a wife. That's a sleeper agent who got activated the moment that ring went on. For years. 4 years built on a lie. I backed out silently, sat in my truck for an hour. And I wasn't sad. I wasn't confused. I was furious, but thinking clearly for the first time in years. Here's what they don't know. I'm not the simple, trusting contractor they think I am. My dad taught me to read people, and I've been ignoring every red flag because I wanted this to work. But now I know the truth. They want to play games with my family's legacy. They think I'm too dumb to see what's happening. They've spent 4 years setting up their scheme and have no idea I just burned it down in my head. I went back to Ohio that night, started making calls. First to my lawyer at midnight, then to my accountant, then to Kingsley, best friend since high school, who's now a private investigator. Because people who think they're smarter than everyone always leave trails, and I'm following every single one. What I found out over the next 48 hours about Carol and what she's been telling people behind my back. That's where this gets interesting. Update coming soon. This is the moment where most people would spiral, would cry, would confront immediately and give the other person time to cover their tracks. But Raymond sat in that truck for an hour and came out with a battle plan. Lawyer, accountant, PI, in that order, And his best friend happens to be a private investigator. Sometimes the universe just hands you exactly what you need. But here's the thing about people who think they're the smartest ones in the room. They get sloppy. They talk too loud. They text things they shouldn't. They assume their mark is too stupid to ever figure it out. Carol and her daughters have been so confident in their scheme that they literally put it on speakerphone in the kitchen while he was supposed to be in Ohio. That's not confidence, that's arrogance. And arrogance always loses to patience. Update 1. Alright, Reddit. Buckle up because this week got wild. So, after that Friday night discovery, I spent the weekend in Ohio making calls and pretending nothing was wrong. Kingsley started looking into Carol's social circle immediately. Not anything illegal, just talking to people, asking questions at their country club, that sort of thing. What he found out made my blood boil all over again. Carol has been running a campaign against me for years, telling her friends that I'm controlling, that I monitor Christine's spending, that I made her sign the prenup under duress. She's been laying the groundwork for a divorce narrative since before we even hit our first anniversary. One of her tennis partners told Kingsley that Carol mentioned Christine was just waiting out the clock because she was scared of what I might do if she left earlier. Scared of me? The guy who rebuilt her mom's deck for free. Who paid for Bianca's car repairs twice. Who has never once raised my voice at Christine in 4 years of marriage. This right here is what takes it from scam to evil. Building a narrative that he's abusive. Telling country club ladies that Christine is scared of him. This isn't just stealing money. This is character assassination as insurance. Because when the divorce hits, Carol wants everyone to already believe Raymond is a monster. She wants the community on Christine's side. She wants his reputation destroyed so thoroughly that even if he fights back, no one believes him. And meanwhile, this man is out here rebuilding her deck for free, paying for Bianca's car twice, being the exact husband they claimed they wanted for their daughter while they poison every well in town. This is the kind of calculated evil that doesn't come from desperation. It comes from practice. Carol has done this before, or at least thought about it enough to have a whole playbook. I came back Sunday night and Christine greeted me like nothing was wrong. Asked about my trip, made dinner, the whole performance, and I watched her with new eyes. Every smile was calculated. Every touch was part of the con. Monday, I met with my lawyer downtown, told him everything I heard. He got serious fast and started explaining my options. The prenup is solid. I had it drafted by the best firm in the state because my dad insisted before he passed. But here's what my lawyer pointed out. Christine has been telling me for months we should update our estate planning. She's brought me 3 different documents to sign in the past year alone. I never looked at them closely, just trusted her. My lawyer asked if I still had copies. I did. Pulled them from our home office Tuesday when Christine was at yoga. Those documents would have transferred partial ownership of the lake property to a family trust that Carol controls. Another would have added Christine to the deed of the house my parents left me, which would have voided the prenup protection on that asset. I never signed them because I kept saying I'd review them later. Christine got frustrated with me about it multiple times. Now I know why. His procrastination saved his entire inheritance. All those times she got frustrated that he wouldn't just sign the papers. That wasn't a wife wanting to get boring paperwork done. That was a con artist watching her window close. And the documents themselves, transferring the lake house to a trust Carol controls, adding Christine to deeds that would void prenup protections. This is surgical. They had a lawyer help them design this. Someone sat down and figured out exactly which signatures would unravel his entire financial protection. This wasn't maybe we'll get lucky. This was a heist with blueprints. And Raymond's dad, even from beyond the grave, saved him twice. Once by insisting on the prenup and once by raising a son who doesn't rush into signing things he hasn't read. Wednesday I started phase 1. I moved all important documents from our home office to a safety deposit box. The original prenup, my parents' will, the company incorporation papers, everything. Christine won't notice for a while because I left the folders. Just emptied them. Thursday I had dinner with my cousin who works in real estate. Casual conversation about property values, transfer laws, what happens during divorce proceedings. She doesn't know what's coming, but she gave me information I needed. And then Friday, Exactly 1 week after I heard that conversation, Carol called me directly, said she wanted to discuss a family surprise party for Christine's birthday next month, and needed my help coordinating. Sweet as pie, talking to me like I'm her favorite son-in-law while I'm standing in my garage, knowing exactly what she thinks of me. I played along, agreed to meet her Saturday morning at the farmer's market to discuss details because here's my plan. I'm not just going to divorce Christine. I'm going to make sure when this all falls apart, everyone knows exactly who the real villain is. Carol built a narrative about me being controlling and dangerous. I'm going to destroy that narrative brick by brick. Saturday's meeting is where I start. The empty folders is cinema. Documents gone, folders stay. She'll go looking one day and find nothing but air in her own reflection. And Carol calling about a surprise party. The audacity of this woman to keep playing the loving mother-in-law role while actively planning to destroy his life. But Raymond agreeing to that farmer's market meeting, that's not weakness. That's intelligence gathering. He's not trying to just win the divorce. He's trying to win the narrative. Because Carol spent years telling everyone he's dangerous, controlling, scary. If he just files and disappears, those rumors survive. Those lies become, well, there must have been something. No, he's going to make sure that when the dust settles, everyone knows exactly what kind of snake pit this family really is. Update 2. Saturday morning at the farmer's market, Carol showed up in a white linen dress, all smiles, touching my arm, calling me sweetheart while we walked past the vegetable stands. She talked about the party for 20 minutes, venue options, catering, guest list. The whole time I'm nodding along, thinking about how this woman called me their retirement plan. Then I started asking about her finances. Not directly. Mentioned I was thinking about helping Christine's family. Asked how Carol was doing since her husband passed 8 years ago. Whether the family home was expensive to maintain. And Carol opened up. Property taxes doubling. Roof needing replacement. Bianca's divorce last year draining their savings. Said the family has been struggling since Christine's dad died, but they don't like to show it. Old money pride. She teared up about possibly losing the family home. Said Christine worries about her constantly. I almost felt bad. Almost. Then I remembered 6 more months and taking everything. White linen dress at a farmer's market, touching his arm, calling him sweetheart. Carol is performing beloved mother-in-law like she's auditioning for a Hallmark movie. And she has no idea she's talking to a man who heard her call him a mark 2 weeks ago. But here's where Raymond is smart. He asked about finances, got her comfortable, got her vulnerable, and she admitted everything. Property taxes, roof repairs, Bianca's divorce, savings gone. This family is drowning. They've been drowning for years. And instead of downsizing, instead of adjusting their lifestyle, instead of accepting that the old money is gone, they decided to find someone to rob. Raymond almost felt bad. And honestly, that moment of empathy is what separates him from them. He can feel sympathy for someone even while protecting himself from their schemes. They could never. Sunday, I had brunch with Alan, Christine's cousin, who introduced us. He's always been decent to me. I mentioned estate planning and asked about the family trust Carol runs. Alan got quiet. That trust is basically empty. Has been for years. Carol keeps it active on paper, but there's nothing in it. The whole family knows their wealth is gone, but Carol still acts like they're one good investment away from being rich again. That's when I understood this isn't just Christine being greedy. This is a family in freefall who found a mark, me, and decided I was their salvation. They see me as a resource to extract. Monday, I met with my lawyer, told him I wanted to file strategically. He started drafting preliminary paperwork. Tuesday, Christine asked why I've been distant. Said I seemed off since Ohio. I told her work stress. She accepted it, but I saw suspicion in her eyes. Wednesday, Bianca texted Christine while we watched TV. The preview said, "Did you ask him about the documents yet?" And Christine angled her phone away fast. Thursday at dinner, she brought up those estate papers again. Said her mom was asking and could we just sign them this weekend? I said I'd look at them soon. Her face went tight. Said it feels like I don't trust her. I looked her in the eyes and said, that's a strange thing to say. She cleared the dishes and went to bed early. It feels like you don't trust her. The audacity to play the hurt wife card while actively trying to steal his grandfather's lake house. And Raymond's response, "That's a strange thing to say," is absolutely devastating. He didn't accuse, didn't explain, just planted a seed and watched her panic. She cleared the dishes and went to bed early because she felt the ground shift. She doesn't know what he knows, but she knows something is different. And that text from Bianca, "Did you ask him about the documents yet?" They're getting impatient. The clock is ticking toward that 5-year prenup window, and they can feel their scheme slipping. But they still think they're dealing with simple trusting Raymond. They have no idea he's already 10 moves ahead. Friday, I filed preliminary divorce paperwork. My lawyer is holding it until I give the word. Saturday, tomorrow, I'm confronting Christine directly. No more games. I'm telling her exactly what I heard. Final update. Saturday morning. Christine was making breakfast when I walked into the kitchen and told her we needed to talk. She asked what about, and I said, "I came home early from Ohio 2 weeks ago." I stood in the mudroom and heard everything. Her face went pale, but she recovered fast. Asked what I thought I heard. So, I told her word for word, 6 more months, taking everything. The lake house to Carol's name, me being their retirement plan. Christine tried to spin it, said I misunderstood, that she was venting to her family about feeling disconnected from me. That they were joking around. I asked if transferring my grandfather's property to her mother's trust was a joke, too. She went quiet. "What do you think you heard?" is the most insulting possible response. Immediately trying to make him question his own ears, his own memory, his own sanity. That's not defense. That's manipulation 101. And then the pivot to we were joking around about stealing his inheritance, about running a years-long con. What kind of family jokes about that? And notice how fast Christine cycles through tactics, denial, then gaslighting, then minimizing. She's throwing everything at the wall, hoping something sticks. But Raymond came with receipts, the estate documents, the trust transfer, the specific wording. There's no spinning your way out of taking everything when he can recite it back verbatim. Then she switched tactics. Started crying, saying her family has been pressuring her for years, that she never wanted any of this, but Carol controls everything, that she loves me and was going to tell them no when the time came. I asked why she brought me documents designed to strip my assets 3 separate times if she was planning to say no. She didn't have an answer. Then she got angry. Said I was always too trusting, too simple. That maybe if I'd paid more attention to her instead of my company, she wouldn't have felt so alone. Blamed me for making her vulnerable to her family's pressure. I told her I'd already filed for divorce. The prenup stands. She gets nothing except what she brought into the marriage. I want her out of the house by Monday. 3 tactics in 60 seconds. Tears, then deflection, then attack. I was going to say no when the time came, but brought him 3 separate documents to sign. Was she going to say no after he'd already signed everything away? Please. And then the final form blame. He's too trusting, too simple. Didn't pay enough attention to her. Made her vulnerable to her own family's manipulation. This is textbook abuser logic. Look what you made me do. She's not sorry she tried to rob him. She's sorry she got caught. And even in her anger, she's still insulting his intelligence. Still calling him simple. Still looking down on him exactly like her mother always did. At least now she's finally being honest about who she really is. She called Carol immediately. Within an hour, both Carol and Bianca showed up at our house. Carol tried the sweet approach first. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Families say things they don't mean. Let's all sit down and work through this. I told her I knew about the empty trust, about the lies she's been spreading at the country club calling me controlling. About the years of planning. Carol's face changed completely. Dropped the act and said I had no idea who I was dealing with, that her family has connections and lawyers who will bury me. I told her my lawyer was expecting that call and that Alan had already agreed to provide a statement about the family's financial situation and the scheme they'd been running. Bianca started screaming about betrayal and how could Alan do this. Carol grabbed her arm and they left. That was 2 weeks ago. My phone has 247 missed calls. Carol left 11 voicemails. The last one was just screaming about how I destroyed Christine, how I'm a heartless monster, how they'll make me pay if it's the last thing they do. Bianca sent 43 texts, started with threats about knowing people, ended with saying Christine won't stop crying, won't eat, is talking about hurting herself, asking if I'm happy now. I forwarded that last text to my lawyer as potential manipulation and moved on. Christine is staying with Carol. The divorce is proceeding. My prenup is ironclad. They spent 4 years trying to con me out of everything my family built. They got nothing. And everyone who matters knows exactly why. The mask drop on Carol is chef's kiss. Sweet mother-in-law to you have no idea who you're dealing with in seconds. Connections and lawyers who will bury you. Ma'am, your trust is empty. What connections? What lawyers? You can't afford a roof repair, but you're going to bury him in litigation. And Bianca screaming about Alan's betrayal. Not sorry for what they did, furious that someone in the family had integrity. Then the manipulation escalates. 247 missed calls, voicemails of screaming, and finally the nuclear option, claiming Christine is talking about hurting herself, using potential self-harm as a weapon to make him feel guilty. That's not concern for Christine. That's emotional terrorism. And Raymond forwarding it to his lawyer and moving on. This has been Hidden Lies.